Hi, everybody. This is Nate Lynn, the online business broker. I have another successful M&A case study here. We exited a security cameras company, and I have the owner here with me, Sean. Tell everybody your name and the company we sold together, and a little bit about the backstory on how it got started.
Yeah, my name is Sean Nelson, and I sold Nelly Security. We sell security cameras and DVRs, security products to both installers and end users. I've operated the business since 2008, gone through many variations of the business, but ultimately found my footing in security in about 2010, really. But over the past couple of years, I've definitely considered selling the business. It's got to a point where, I've grown it to be a little bit too big for my liking. We only had about 19 people, which is not really big, but a little bit too big for me. And it, started becoming, I hate to say it, not fun anymore. It became more of a job, which is not really what I wanted to get into business for. I like the creativity aspect and building something. And it got to a point where I just didn't really, I wanted to, I built a great team and I thought it was time to put it in somebody else's hands to move it to the next level because I just didn't have the energy to do that anymore. So I always, in the past 2 years, I've been looking to sell. I made some attempts to sell. I worked with some other brokers, didn't really have any success with them, wasn't really pleased with my other brokers. But then I was on LinkedIn one time and received this just solicitation out of nowhere from this lead company, from a guy saying, "Hey, Sean, are you considering selling your business?" And I didn't think it was going to lead anywhere. And I said, sure, sure I am, because I really still was interested in selling business. I wasn't heavily actively pursuing it at that time, but I was still interested. And then he passed me on to Website Closers, aka Nate, and I had a conversation with Nate and was very impressed. And I can go into more detail of that unless you have any other questions beforehand.
Yeah, so you hit a couple of topics here that, without even my prompting, which is perfect. A lot of times an entrepreneur, they'll get to a point where like they're facing some challenges in the business and they start to figure out that, maybe this wasn't quite what I signed up for. This isn't really what I see for myself over the next couple of years. So I love that you shared that, the job word you mentioned, and it felt like a job. And that's something I hear a lot from my clients. And I felt that myself when I sold my first business in 2016.
Even with a good management structure, I still had that heavy weight of responsibility upon me where I felt like I needed to keep growing the business. Well, I mean, mainly because I built a team and I built a vision in that team to really grow the business, and to be one of the biggest distributors on earth. Matter of fact, we have that on our About Us page. And but then I reached the point where it started not being fun anymore, like I said, and I just didn't have the energy to move it to that next level. And I just wanted to offload some of that responsibility as well. It's a heavy load to carry. And I just felt like if I received a good offer, it's something I would entertain selling. So I could possibly, sell and do something else with my life, maybe build another business, and get back to that having fun like I used to, the thrill of building something. And so that's kind of the point I reached.
And it sounded like you'd already had some experience with some business brokers, or you kind of went down that path a little bit. Can you tell me a little bit about like what research did you do, with the different brokerages or marketplaces or M&A advisors, and kind of what did you learn about them compared to myself and Website Closers?
Yeah, I just I did some. I worked with some local brokers here in my hometown of Tulsa, and you know, it just I wasn't impressed mainly because they didn't have a big reach of buyers. Basically, I had to do a lot of the work myself. I had to inform them of some of the buyers that would be interested, and they reached out to them on my behalf. But I ended up doing a lot of the work myself. I really could have done it all I could have done all the work they were doing myself, and I could have done it better, and I just wasn't impressed with the effort they put in, and I don't think they had the quantity of business transactions to really have the knowledge to know what they were doing, especially as far as valuating my business. Matter of fact, I came to you and I wanted to sell my business for a certain number. Matter of fact, you evaluated it at a higher number. We actually got that number. So that was pretty exciting. But it just seemed like when I talked to you, you were much more knowledgeable than previous brokers I've worked with in the past.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. It's not uncommon for someone to have like a number in mind. And I'm not the market, but I'm your liaison, your consigliere, your guide to the market of our buyers. And we have, we've got like 167,000 buyers now on our email list and growing. It's like 500 to 800 a week. It's just the economy, the recession hasn't done anything to stop the M&A space right now. I want to show you just a quick little pop-up of the buyers that we had in the for your business. See if I can share my screen here. Oops, here it is. There we go. So I had 59 buyers reach out, view the offering memorandum, look at the financials, and every one of these I had some touch of interacting with. Let me see. I had 187 email threads between me and these 59 buyers. So you never saw this, did you? We only had calls with like 4 or 5 people, right?
Yeah.
So I think we had all of this.
2 people.
Yeah. So I think in both of those, we had some pretty significant interest. So it's my job really was to find the best buyers out there from our marketplace, not inundate you with all of these calls. We didn't want to talk to 59 people. We want like the best 2, 3, 4 people to talk to. And then to your point, sometimes you may have a number in mind, and then I'll be assessing, what's going on in our marketplace. And I have a really good feel for it. That's what's great about Website Closers. We've got over 100 companies listed for sale right now, almost $500 million of companies in total transactions listed for sale. So we have a great, like our finger on the pulse of what's going on, what are offers looking like, what are buyers interested in, what structures, are they willing to pay, how much cash, how much equity, how much earnout, like all of that sort of stuff. So there's really no other place like it where we can get this vast amount of information, and it's all private. You've got a confidentiality agreement with your buyer. Every other transaction is very similar. We can't disclose that to the public, but we can talk in generalities and understand for comparable purposes when people reach out to us and are looking for a business valuation. That's when I can tell them, I've got good news for you, Sean. You're worth more than what you may even think. Definitely more than what those local business brokers probably told you, as is what happened with my footwear company I sold last year. To a great gal. She talked with a local business broker, and I gave her a valuation 3 times what the local guy did. We got it.
Nice.
So this was, what do you think about that? Like you didn't get a chance to see all that, and compared to those other brokers, I was doing all this, and you didn't even know about it. What are your thoughts around that?
Oh yeah, that's crazy. Well, I mean, so compared to the other brokers, like I said, I had to bring them leads and like maybe talk to, 2 people that had somewhat interest, but I didn't know, I knew you told me you had a lot of interest, but I didn't know it was that much. But, that was one of the reasons why I went with you guys. Number one, I was impressed by you personally, but number 2, I was impressed with your company and the reach that you had with all those buyers, because, everyone knows sales is a numbers game. And the more the more you get your offer in front of as many eyes as possible, something's bound to happen. And that was one of the big reasons that drew me towards Website Closers. And a matter of fact, I have been looking at businesses to buy, and I check your guys' website almost every day. So
Yeah, that's awesome. That's what happens. A lot of times our clients they'll sell a business, and then like in your situation, you're an A+ buyer now. You just had a massive liquidity event, so you're going to be very well qualified. We talked about this kind of in the sales process, like how you can leverage your exit multiple times, just like, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Now you're at the point where you can start doing some other big deals, and you can use other people's money. The SBA's got those loans out there where you can only put, you only have to put 10-15% down. You can use the SBA to finance something over 10 years. And you saw this. This is how it worked for the buyer who bought your business. They went and got a loan, and they had a debt service, ratio. They could, we pushed and pushed and pushed, and we got them to the breaking point of how much cash they could put down, how much they could do with equity, and then, giving you a roll into equity so you get another bite of the apple later on, and then have, some structured payments, over time. So you've got, some additional liquidity coming. So you've got that opportunity now, and we're a marketplace to be looking for some of those deals.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I was going to ask what, so we got you 97% of the asking price in less than 30 days. That first LOI came in. What do you think about the speed that this all happened in the beginning?
Yeah, I was, well, I was freaked out, actually. Judging by my previous experiences, I didn't think we were going to get any offers. I was excited to start seeing some interest, and then we had a conversation with what seemed like a very interested party. I think it was like an e-commerce company who wanted to purchase us, and that never panned out to anything, but that was still exciting. And then the buyer that purchased us, I talked to them on a Friday, and then Monday they made an offer, a LOI, and I didn't think it was real. I had to read it over like 5 or 6 times because I just didn't think it was real. But I was amazed at the speed. I don't even know how long it took for us to get that offer, but maybe a month or so, maybe a month or two.
It was like 30 days. It was like 30 days, like right around there.
Yeah. But the speed was crazy. I thought it was going to be, I thought it was going to be much longer.
Yeah, absolutely. This is, I'm guessing, but correct me if I'm wrong, this is probably your biggest liquidity event. Is that the case as an entrepreneur? Is this the biggest wire you got?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
What's it feel like seeing that kind of number in your bank account?
Again, it feels unreal, but it's great, but I'm still looking for the next thing. Money is great, but I'm the type of guy I gotta keep doing something. So I'm going to use that money to build something else, both wealth and a business. I want to invest some of it and use it to build up another income generating business. So it's pretty exciting, though. It's a very comforting feeling. I paid off my house and a lot of my personal debt, and that's awesome. It's great. It's a lot. You can do a lot of things with money.
That's awesome. Yeah, it gives you some security, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
That's awesome. What would you say to an entrepreneur who's, kind of thinking about selling their business, and they may have gotten an outreach from me or from one of our lead outreach companies? What would you say to them to get them to, initiate a call with, a stranger named Nate? What suggestions or advice would you have for them?
Well, just like, if you're an entrepreneur, you know about the activity of taking action. What separates, a lot of entrepreneurs from other people is the ability to think about something, but also to turn that into an action item. It doesn't hurt to just talk to someone. You're not making a commitment to anyone by simply talking to someone about selling your business. If you're even thinking about it remotely, it doesn't hurt to talk to someone. So that's what I would recommend. I'd recommend taking the first step, getting a business evaluation, and talking to someone like you to see if it's somebody is if that's someone that you want representing you. If it sounds good, then take the next step. That's kind of what I did. When I received that lead, I wasn't expecting much, but I thought it would be worth the time to entertain it. And next thing you know, here I am. I've sold my business. So I would just go from there.
And you went back and forth a couple of times whether the deal was the right deal or whether now was the right time. What was the final, like, the straw that broke the camel's back for you to decide to go ahead and, what? I've been working, been pouring my blood, sweat, and tears into this puppy, but it's time to go ahead and make a change. What was that moment like for you? What happened there?
Yeah, well, for me, it was kind of a spiritual thing. I prayed for it, and there was a lot of things that specifically fell in place that I thought was, you know, almost a sign for me to make the move. And plus, I was to that point where I think I told you this. I had entrepreneurial manic depression. When sales were great, I was on top of the world. And when sales were bad, I was stressed out to the max, and it was like that. It was like a yo-yo every day. It was peaks and valleys. And that just wasn't healthy for me. So I thought it was time to make that exit and just go ahead and pull the trigger.
Yeah, very good. That's something I think a lot of entrepreneurs face. I appreciate you being candid and sharing that. Sean, what was most
Yeah.
helpful for you to trust that you'd made the right decision selling with Website Closers and myself as your guide?
Yeah. Well, when I first talked to you, you had a lot of, I was very impressed with the knowledge of, the understanding of the financial documents, and, your confidence when you spoke. You were very analytical, and I could tell you had a lot of knowledge about the industry. I could tell you weren't just BSing me. I can usually sense that, and you told me the good and the bad, which I appreciated. And then after I talked to you personally, like I said, I did some research on website closers, and it seemed like they had a lot of transactions, a lot of successful transactions, a lot of good reviews, which made me feel even more comfortable. So I felt good that I was backed up by a good company, and as well as a good representative of the company.
That's great to hear. Yeah, I think the only people that have any disparaging remarks towards website closers are the buyers that are frustrated with how much they're having to spend when clients like
Yeah.
you decide to list.
Yeah.
That's probably I take that as a badge of honor. So I do
Yeah, that's
appreciate that. Sean,
yeah.
any last comments you'd have for somebody? I'd love for you to share, maybe some of the highlights of what you saw me doing for you and how I stepped up and went to bat for you. Anything like that you'd be willing to share at this point would be fantastic.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'll share a few things. Number one, you're not only a great business broker, but you were a good psychiatrist and psychologist for me. I think I backed out maybe 10 or 15 times, and you were sympathetic to me. You weren't mad at all. Matter of fact, there was a few times where the deal was darn near dead. And you and a couple other guys, talked about some options with me. You didn't push me in any direction at all. I mean, I didn't feel pressured by any means, but you did talk to me about some options, which kind of kept the deal alive. And that's the cool thing about a good business broker such as yourself. It's not just numbers and analytical data. It's very much an emotional game as well. And you handled that quite well. I suspect because you've been through the same thing. You have your own experience, but it is, this is something that you've built, something that almost it's part of your identity, and it's hard to let go. But you did a very good job navigating those waters with me. But I'll tell you, there's a few things that I'll tell people who are looking to sell to be aware of that I wish I knew a little bit more of. Number one, you want to find out the after tax implications. Because you think of a big number, but some people don't think of what you get after taxes, and then also come to the realization that not everyone's going to give you a full cash offer. Quite often, more often than not, you told me that sometimes you're going to get a partial cash offer and get the rest later. Consider the amount that you want as cash up front, and those are some of the things that you need to think of when you're selling. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with the transaction, and you did a great job. I'm very thankful for what you did.
Well, I really enjoyed working with you. Same, I had kind of a similar feeling when we first spoke, after that outreach was made and then we scheduled a call together. Those initial consultation calls, and I do this with every, potential client, or it's a two-way interview. You're interviewing me to figure out whether I'm the right guide for you, whether I'm the right marketplace, if I have the right number of buyers. And then, I'm interviewing you to find out, well, is this a business that's going to be appealing to to the buyers that I have, and can we actually get something done? And as a success fee-based broker, put a lot of time and effort and money into the marketing aspect and all the stuff on the front end of it. And if the deal doesn't close, then hopefully it could come back to me. But it can be quite frustrating to spend sometimes weeks, months, in some clients' cases, and thankfully not yours because your business was so attractive. But I've had some clients that I've been consulting with them for years, and get them to the point where they finally get listed, and then things can move pretty quick. And I'm willing to do that because I love what I do. And just like you were talking about, like the identity of your business, and sometimes that's hard to let go of. I feel the same way about being a business broker. I had a decade of real estate transactional experience and buying and selling, so I understand that part of it. And then a decade as an e-commerce entrepreneur, so I understand the operational aspects of running these businesses when there's some online sales component to it. And then I feel like that's all brought together in this career now as a business broker, combining the two of those, and then seeing an entrepreneur like yourself be able to take home the biggest liquidity event of their life so far, and hopefully the first of many. Absolutely lights me up. Being able to just be able to speculate and conjecture on my side what's going on behind the scenes with you and your wife and your family as you guys pop open a celebration, and however way that happens on your side of the screen really lights me up. And then to be able to have a conversation like this where someone like yourself, after having spent several months together working towards that exit, getting a testimonial like this just means the world to me.
Yeah, well, hopefully we can do it many more times.
Let's do it. Let's get you in on the buy side.